Okay, now we're made it to 4.2 type conversion. And in this section, we're going to break down how to convert a string to a number and a number to a string. So I want you to follow closely to this, and I'm going to attempt to break this down to you. And I'm going to introduce this to you on a high level because I'm going to introduce functions to you. We haven't taught you about functions, but we're going to introduce the type conversion in this section. So let us get into the curriculum. 4.2 type conversions. Sometimes it is necessary to convert values from one type to another. A common example is when a program receives input from a user or a file. Later on in this particular chapter, we're going to talk about readline sync. And one of the things is a module, and an input is a module, and it pulls in data. So it allows the user to input some information. That's why we call it input. Everything in programming is about input and output. So when you go to a website and it asks you to enter some information like your name and your email address, well, that's an input field and you already understand that. But let's say I want you to enter your age, and your age is a number. Input field automatically converts everything to a string. But I need that number to be put somewhere else in the database, or I need it to compare to something else. So I need for it to be converted. So this is where these particular functions come in. So let's read it. In this situation, a numeric data may be passed to a program as a string. JavaScript provides a few simple functions that would allow us to convert values to different data types. The functions number and string will attempt to convert the arguments into types, number and strings. See the difference here. The capital N number is the function, is the object. The string, capital S, is also a function. Everything in JavaScript is an object. But the numbers type and string type, these are primitive data types. We call these type conversion functions. The number function can take a string and turn it into an integer. Let us see this in action. Now, here we go. We have a console.log. Inside of that console.log parenthesis, we have this number function, and we're passing in an argument, a string with 2, 3, and 4. And then we're checking it with the console.log type of number with that same argument in it, string 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we're going to console.log number, and we're passing in the number 17. These are the output. Notice that this string right here, if I didn't have that numbers function, this type of would be a string. But because I used that number function, it converted it to a number. And then when I did the type of number function with that string passed into it, it returned me a number. And then here we have number 17, but that's already a number. So we didn't have to convert that. But let's look at something here. This is why it's always fun to play around with the code. So let's go over here, and I still have this opened up. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy those console.log, paste them in, and then I'm going to run. Well, you see my results, right? So again, like I said, let's play around with it. If I get rid of that function, number function, and I do the type of, what's going to happen now? What is it going to say? It's going to say it's a string. It says a number and it's a string. It's not a number, it's a string. But now look at this number 17. Right now it says a number, right? So if I go ahead and put a parenthesis, put a quote around it, what's going to happen? So to hit run. It's still a number, right? But now let's do one more thing. Let's check it. This is what console.logs are good for checking. So I want to do a type of on this one too. I want to check the type of, see if that's really a number. It is a number. So let me take those quotes off of it. It's a number. So it works. The conversion works. It's important to test. That's one of the things we're going to have a chapter on, testing. As a developer, you have to test. That's just what we do, because we always find bugs. It doesn't matter how well written your program is, there's always going to be a bug. Now let's read on. What happens if we attempt to convert a string to a number and the string doesn't directly represent a number? Okay, so let's look at that. So if I put this to console.log and I'm doing the number, and I have a string with 23 bottles, right? And when the output is, it says NaN. NaN means not a number. So play around with this inside your replit. I'm going to read on. This example shows that a string has to be syntactically legal number for conversion to go as expected. So it has to be a number. Although you have quotes around it and it sees it as a string, it has to be a systematically legal number. It can't be written out. It can't be written out 23. It has to be the number 23, the 2 and a 3. That's how smart the compiler is, or that's how the compiler is designed to read that. And again, when I get over into binary numbers and help you understand how to count binary, how binary numbers work, this will make a little bit more sense. Now, this example shows that a string has to be syntactically legal number for conversions to go as expected. Examples such as strings are number 34 or negative 2.5. If the value cannot be cleanly converted to a number, then NaN will be returned, which stands for not a number. Note, NaN, and it has to be this keyword like this, N, capital N, lowercase a, capital N, is a special value in JavaScript that represents that state of not being a number. Remember that word state. We're going to use this a lot. We will learn more about NaN and other special values in a later chapter. The type conversion function string turns its arguments into a string. Remember that when we print a string, the quote may be removed. However, if we print the type, we can see what it is definitely a string. So here we got the console.log, same example as the number. We have the number 17. Here's another number, 123.45. And then when we do a type of string, the type of, if this string function is that 123.45, is it a string? Yes, it was converted. Now, I want you to check your understanding, of course. Now, remember, you may not get this concept right now, but come back to it later, because it's like a good movie. When you watch it 2 or 3 times, you start seeing things you didn't see the first time. This is the same situation. We're building upon your knowledge. We're taking it one step at a time. So remember, the more you practice, the more you improve. See you in the next video.